Welcome back, my friend. This is episode number 34 of Mr. Alan Super Show. If you love Masters of the Universe, if you love comics illustration, you don't miss this episode because I have a special guest, an artist, an illustrator, and his name is Tom Washington. Welcome, Tom.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, Alan. I really appreciate this, man.
You're welcome, and I'm happy to have you also because I saw some of your work on web.
Yep.
You are unbelievable, talented,
Oh,
very
thank you.
gifted artist. So I'm very happy to have you right here
It's an honor.
because I am an artist too, but I'm an artist with words because I'm a writer. So, and I am very fascinated by the people that are able to do stuff like yours.
Oh,
But
no, thank you.
tell me how you discover your talent.
Wow. So yeah, I mean, I've been drawing pretty much the majority of my life, like most of the artists and friends that I know, and yeah, I would pick up every coloring book that I could get my hands on, and try to color every one of them. So I learned a lot, just with crayons, and moved my way into color pencils and paint. And early high school, or junior high, I was traveling. My dad is in the Navy, so we traveled, almost everywhere across the United States. And the one thing that I always had, that would never change is just the pencils and paper that I could draw with, and going across country and traveling. And so I really got into it. My dad, he actually at one point had a scholarship to an art school back in Detroit, Michigan. And then they found out that I was on the way, so he ended up going into the Navy. And then, but I really started falling in love with just drawing and drawing and drawing, and that was such a great way to just to kind of release any kind of stress I may have had, or any other kind of stuff as a kid and teen. But I got really serious right around early high school. I saw, I've been a fan of Marvel, DC, all the comic studios that are out there, Dark Horse, all of it. But I started seeing a lot of the stuff that was coming out of Image Comics, in particular Spawn. And I was like, the way it looked, the way the coloring looked, the way that the production on those books looked, it blew me away. So I had to figure out how to get into the industry, because I was like, this is what I want to do. I'm doing comics. That's my passion. So I started going to Comic-Con at the age of 15. I'm 44 now, so it's been a while. I've been going to the Comic-Con, but I took a portfolio at 15 straight to Image Comics, and not surprised I got turned down. At 16, I went again, and I turned out again. 17, same. 18, I had just gotten into art school. Right out of high school, I went up to a school called Cal Arts in Valencia, California, and I was there for their summer session. But something in me was like, "No, I got to go to Comic-Con again. This is what I want to do." So I took a train down, and literally I went to Comic-Con. I drew my own Spawn comic, colored pencils, inked it, all that kind of stuff, and I took it down. I literally did the comic at art school, but so I took it down, went to Comic-Con again, and lucked out and got hired by Image Comics. I was 18 at the time, so and then they had me working with Wildstorm, which is the division with Jim Lee and so many incredible artists over at that area. So I got to work with some legendary artists: J. Scott Campbell, Ryan Benjamin, Travis Terrest. There's the list just keeps going on and on, but everyone at that studio really ramped me up to get seasoned in comics and production. And I was one of the youngest ones there, so I was at 18 going into this heavy hitter studio. So there was some pressure, and they didn't make it any easier by putting my desk directly in front of Jim Lee's office. But it was, I learned a lot, and it was an amazing journey just to get to that point. And then I moved into video games and feature films and animation, and so I've been kind of bouncing around in all these different disciplines for around 20, almost 27 years now. So I've been extremely fortunate and thankful to be a part of such growing industry in all ways. So it's I'm very thankful for the position I'm in.
Awesome. So yeah, your life is dreams come true because you realize your dream. It's very cool that. And
I'm
speaking,
lucky.
I have a general question for you about the creativity and the art in general. For to become an artist, what is your opinion in general? Because there is different way to become an artist. One is
Sure.
go to a school of art, school of writing, school of art, or school of music, or the other way is, for example, as a writer, writing, read book and
Yep.
write, and maybe less school of writing. For example, I prefer this way because yes, the school of writing give you the technique to write, or maybe the school of art to paint, but to follow your talent, because you said that before that you drawing, and
Yeah.
because of that you find your talent.
Yeah.
In my opinion, is important. Do your art to become better. More important than go in a school of art. Another
Yeah.
things, in my opinion, is important. Work with the other artists, maybe bigger than you or older than you. They have a bigger experience. You can stall a little bit this experience between other artists. What do you think about that? Give me your opinion.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, a lot of the stuff you just said, I mean, I absolutely agree with. There's definitely like the school angle. I mean, I was in school. Even in high school, I took all the art classes. And the high school I was in, they had like an advanced placement art where I could use that. I could actually get college credits in high school to apply towards the school. I did the exams and all that kind of stuff. But I think that I think when I dove headfirst into comics is where I just all of that experience really started to show up. I mean, I was surrounded by, like I mentioned earlier, a lot of really seasoned older artists than me, and I mean, not that they were drastically older than me, but they're in their 30s and 40s, some a couple 50s, but you know they really made sure that I was getting used to what the studios look for and how to get my craft better and quicker. I think today's age with the internet really helps for artists of all ages to really get better and better. That was not even a possibility back when I was getting into art. So there was no YouTube, no internet. So it was not to date the both of us, but I learned a lot, just being around a lot of just creative people. So I think I don't ever turn down school. I mean, I do go back to the community colleges that are here. I try to go every couple of years just to get a little bit more brushed up on what's out there with tech and software and stuff like that. So, I do when I can get back to school, I do. But there's nothing like being like right in the thick of it with a bunch of creative artists and learning from some even people younger than myself. I love a lot of the incredible art that's coming out of people in their 20s and teens. I'm like, this is like, all right, I gotta step it up a little bit, but but I learned. I think the biggest experience is just being surrounded by a bunch of creatives. So I definitely think that's, if I could recommend anything, is for any artist, up and coming artists. It doesn't have to be people that have been in the industry for decades. It's just that energy and that vibe you get working with a lot of creative people that really starts to get the imagination going. Even if it's just working with a small collective of a writer and an inker and a colorist and penciler, you guys just, everyone should just find out ways to help hone everybody's skills. I think that's the best way. But if anything, yeah, just surround yourself with it. I think that's the best way to go to approach it.
And now that you have a big experience, what is your feelings when you meet a young artist that maybe remember you when you started, when he was 18, something like that? What is your feelings when you see maybe a young Tony that approach with you to do the same stuff?
It's extremely flattering and humbling. I've met, I've been very fortunate to have fans who followed my work over the decades, and yeah, it's cool to be able to see what I had a couple of different artists who would bring portfolios to my table at Comic-Con and just look at their growth. And it's so great to see that passion, and because that's what it takes to be able to do this kind of stuff, because there's a lot of hours, like most creatives do know that that goes into this. It's not, for me, it's not a 8-hour job kind of day. It's not a standard work day. So I still grind a lot of hours every single day. But to see that next generation of artists come up and have that same excitement and passion about it, it really, really helps to drive me to keep pushing and to get better and better at it. I mean, because this next generation, they're amazing. So it's great to see it because I get just the same awesome feedback from them. I try to give them the same feedback as they give me. So it's just growing together as a collective of artists is really what's truly inspiring. Being in this creative field.
Awesome. And speaking of the moment of the creation, for example, I'm a guy that work in the night. For example, now at 3 a.m. where I live, to me is normal. Is still
Yeah.
wake up at this time because I writing, I do video because I have two channel in English. This one for action figure, toys, and whatever, and the other one for wrestling. And my audience is from US. So,
Yeah.
but when I don't work on my channel, I'm writing. And when I work on some stuff, artistic stuff, I forget the time, and sometimes my art take over on me because I forget everything to work on my stuff. What is your situation for that in general when you work on your art?
So I mean, I'm just as guilty about the hours. My typical day, I'm up around 8, 9 in the morning, and then I don't go to bed till 2 or 3 in the morning. So it's typically I work all day. So yeah, I get it kind of absorbed into it. I mean, it's so hard to kind of break away from something you love. So I do have to take breaks. Yeah, absolutely. I had to get used to that. I didn't do it for a long time. But I do take breaks and relax and find some movies to watch with a beautiful wife, and we'll relax and I haven't really been on any vacations, so maybe I should change that up a little bit. But for the most part, it's so difficult to break away from creating all day. I mean, this is like literally the one thing I love doing so much as a career, and to take 2-3 days, I feel guilty for not working. So it's super hard to balance, but at the end of the day, it's just I'm beyond thankful that I've got the chance to be able to do this stuff. So um that's probably why I work so many hours, because I just don't want to lose that opportunity. So,
So awesome, also because you follow the inspiration. It's
yes,
like a river. When you follow this river, you need to follow the waves of this river. So also at the
you
same
do.
time.
You do.
In general, I prefer work in the night. I also not only because also before they become a YouTuber, when he was just a musician or writer, I work in the night. And now, for example, I in general in my day is I go to sleep at 7 a.m., 8 a.m. and wake
Sure.
up at 4 p.m. This is
Okay.
my life, like a little Dracula. But I know that we have something to show. I want talks about some of your work now.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I have some of the prints that I've had at the most recent PowerCon that it was so awesome to be able to get back to. I can definitely show some of the prints that I had there, and let me see. Hopefully, you bring up on camera, okay. So some of the art that I had there. This is the first time I've ever drawn the sorceress. So, for me, it was really
Awesome.
fun to get in there and design her. One of my personal favorites would be Orko. So
Wow.
love to be able to design. He doesn't get enough love, so I had to do a pinup of him. Thankfully, a lot of the people at PowerCon would have really liked my rendition of Shira and Hordak
Wow.
as well. So
Super cool.
it's been a lot of fun just diving into all of the different characters from inside Masters of the Universe. My own Saturday morning cartoon take of He-Man and a giant version of Battle Cat. I
Cool.
always saw Battle Cat as just a huge beast or behemoth, so I had to do that, and not to lose any. I wanted to make sure I included Skeletor on the same side with Panther, but
Awesome. Awesome.
and Snake Mountain in there. I mean, there's definitely some darker stuff I've done too. Like this is one in particular where kind of a montage of Skeletor and my rendition of Snake Mountain, a different take on it, but a lot grittier and darker.
Cool. That
But I'm thankful
I won't start to talk.
What's
I
that?
won't start with I won't talk about each of them a little
Oh,
bit
sure.
inside. So we start with the first one with the sorceress with
Yep.
the
Yep, this one.
okay, because I give you my feelings and now I want to understand the process behind because
Yeah, of course.
the pose of sorceress remember me a little bit some filmation vibes,
Yep.
the pose. But let me know how started this idea. Oh God, because this the inspiration to do this first one. Tell me
Yeah.
something, some backstory of that.
Yeah, so I mean, like, well, for to start with the sorceress, I mean, I'd never drawn her before, and I've always wanted to. I never had the opportunity working on the comics. I was really fortunate to work with MV Creations and the awesome team at Val Staples and Leanne Hanna and Matt Tyree, John Boy Myers. They're all incredible people, and they gave me a huge opportunity to work on some of the classics. I was working on Icons of Evil, Merman, Rise of the Snake Man, and some of the mainline MOTU comics as a colorist. And they gave me an opportunity just to let loose on those pages. So it was so much fun just to kind of recreate palettes that I saw from the cartoons and primary filmation stuff. But but I never got a chance to really draw that stuff. So once PowerCon started showing up, Val was reached out, and I was super fortunate to be invited to be a part of the convention. So I was like, well, this is my chance to start designing, how I saw all these iconic characters. And and I never, like, every show I've been to, it's been like, I think 10 of them now, maybe 9. But every one of them, I would design like a few different pinups and posters to kind of bring to the show. I would bring, one year would just be just something focused with He-Man and Skeletor. Then it was Orko and She-Ra. Then, so I'd start adding to those. And then, it finally got to this year, and I was like, I got to do Sorceress. She's such a great character. And that pose is directly, I love the pose for Filmation. So I had to do that. And so it was, I wanted to be able to have my take on what the environment in the world would look like, and a little bit. It's a little darker than the cartoon, but either way, I wanted to play homage to the pose and her strength, that was one of the main inspirations for doing that. So it's been a pleasure to be able to design all these posters.
And speaking of the creation of this poster of with sorcerer, what is the first things that you put in your draw? What is you start with the figure, the character, or with the background?
Sure. So I primarily would start with, I would just do a rough layout really quickly. Sometimes I would just do it digitally in like software like Procreate on my iPad. Really just rough sketches, rough lines, just kind of general idea and composition down. From there, I would just send it straight over to either Clip Studio Paint for my line art, or like all my finishes in color are done in Photoshop. But I started on Procreate, moved it to Clip Studio so I could draw everything. But I started with her. That was the most. That's for me. That's the focal point. Everything else is more complementary of that main figure. So I started with her first. I got all her line art done, drawn out, inked out, or digitally inked, and then I loosely sketched like the background just so I could have just an impression of all the shapes, because I really don't like to do too much detail in the background because I'm going to be painting everything. So, I'll be like literally wasting my time. so it's like, it looks like scribbles. When I did have like in the sketchbook that I released, I showed some of that process like before and after. I'll try to post some of that stuff online if I can, but it should be on my site. It's just TonyWashingtonArt.com, but you'll see like some in the portfolio section, you'll see some of the breakdowns for that piece. And then from there, I started just really going in and painting, and I would actually shoot like photos of clouds and textures and figure out ways to like bring even more realism and, with the lighting and stuff like that. So it's a process, but all of it is just, it's helping me ramp up and get better and better at this stuff, because I really want to keep, improving. I don't like to rest too much on that. I wanted to always learn something new. So Yeah, but that's at least for the process and her. It's actually kind of similar to what I do with everything else, but some of the other pieces that we'll get into today, I'll definitely will have a little bit more, even more different takes on how I approach them. But for character stuff, it's always the character first, and then I kind of just build all the environment stuff around it. So but equally all of it's fun.
And from the beginning to the final poster, what is the time to do that? How long take you this work, for example?
Yeah, I mean it varies on the piece. I mean, on average, I mean, like the fastest I've done a for PowerCon, the fastest done a pinup is probably 17 hours, something like that. There were some that you'll see shortly that were about a week. It's some of this stuff is a lot of work, but it's all fun. Absolutely, at the end of the day, but like the fastest stuff is probably about 17, 18 hours. So it ranges depending one the size of the file. So if it's going to be like a really big, like 24 by 36 or 1824, typically my prints are like 12 by 18. So I try to keep them in range so I can get them done in time for a show, because a lot of the time I'm like, there's no way I could do these big movie posters for every convention. So but yeah, typically like a 12 by 18 could be anywhere from like 18 hours all the way up to about 30 to 40 hours. So I could spend, solid, almost a solid week on some of these pieces. So, I'll definitely show you a couple that definitely were in that week area.
And in general, how is your way to find your ideas, the concept to do one of these poster? For example, you told me before that you never did before a sorcerer's poster, and this is the first step. But later to decide which. So I saw, for example, Castle of Grace, obviously because it's related with Earth. But in general, what is your way to find your ideas?
Yeah, a lot of it. I mean, I'll try to. I go back and watch the original cartoons a lot of the time. I mean, I call it research, but I definitely go in and we'll sit there and watch episodes and get ideas from a lot of that stuff, and also just watching different movies that are in that kind of style, and get ideas for mood and ideas for how I should maybe light something. So I try to pick up ideas from a little bit of everything if I can. Like my Pinterest is filled with just tons of reference, but I try to definitely watch the cartoons. That's the first step, and then I'll go in and just start. When I'm watching the show, I'll sit there and draw and kind of figure out what I'm going to do based off of that. And then a lot of the time, if I see like an iconic pose that I love, okay, I got to figure out how to do that one. So. Because that's what strikes me the most is when you see that pose for that character, that represents everything for that person. So, it's important for me to be able to capture that in the art. So, the focus would definitely be watching the shows again, referencing, and then go from there and kind of build my own take on it. A lot of that's done within color and lighting and all that kind of good stuff. But as long as I can get as close as I can to the character. I don't want to be like 100% dead on. I want to respect those designs, but also want to be able to put my spin on it too. So it's important that there's a try to create that fun balance between both.
You work in general all digital, or also
Yes.
you do some sketches before to start in digitals?
It's for the majority of my work, it's almost 100% digital. There is one piece that I will show today that was actually started with pencil and ink. It was a 18 by 24 Castle Grayskull that I had done for PowerCon. And then I actually went in and it's like there's some of the processes on my Instagram. I'll definitely will post it on my site in November. But I literally went back to I call it analog art, but I just grabbed the pencil, some paper. I had a brush pen, and I actually just picked up. I had not done that in probably 15 years or so. It's been forever, but it was so cool to be able to touch paper again. I found myself doing like hotkeys in the middle of me trying to undo and stuff. Like, oh no, I got to keep going forward, so I got to figure this out. But it was really, really great. But for the majority of my work, it's pretty much just either from Procreate, Clip Studio Paint, or Photoshop. Those are the main three that I've used. There is definitely other software packages that are great too, but for speed, I've gotten more comfortable with those three. So definitely. But there's so much to choose out there. So yeah, those are the ones I use though.
And I think also in the music is like that. Or for example, to write a novel, I use the computer, not I don't use my pencil. Also because I have bad graphics, so after the first, it's difficult to understand what I did because
Like, what is this?
so I prefer use the computer. But also in music, I did the song that I did in the past. I use Pro Tools, Logic, this program, and a type of program that you compose everything with a keyboard, and with a keyboard you can play each instrument.
Yeah.
This is the pre-production, and later you go to the studio and the musician play the parts that you did on computer for each part,
Yeah.
and you give also the notes. So and also
Yeah.
it's good to save your opera because only like paper, for example, a poster. If you did a poster, a drawing poster, a copy is not easy to do, and maybe is this copy is going maybe in flame or some stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I'm terrified of that. I mean, like, I would like when I was just doing this Castle Grayskull, had no water on the table. There's just a pencil, a paper, and a light just right off to the side. So I was not going to damage this thing because
And
I
maybe
was.
no cats because
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
around the paper.
Yeah, all animals are put outside. No, no, I don't own any animals. I can't say that.
And
But yeah, no, I totally get it.
I will take a look of the poster with Orko.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Let's get that. Yep. Yeah, here you go. So that again, this was
Propose this one. Tell me what is your inspiration for that? Your reference inspiration for this one?
sure. For Orko, I was kind of joking about it earlier, but he doesn't get a lot of love in the series, at least until I saw him more in the recent stuff. But yeah, I always I thought he had so much more to offer than just like comic relief. So I wanted to do like more of an aggressive, more menacing version of Orko. Where I made up a whole world for him. So I mean, I can bring it up again, but I really wanted to have something that's a lot that's not familiar with what his environment would look like. So I want to kind of design, just like a floating, almost like a floating forest for him that he was from, and kind of give a little story just within that environment for him, and then play with different coloring styles too. I wanted to kind of make it cell rendered on Orko, and then a fully painted background to really give you that kind of like animated look that's in a lot of the future films, of course. But I really wanted to kind of play with technique on that show or on this poster. I mean, and it was a good challenge for me to really try to push that kind of stuff, because a lot of what I've done is it's lately, during that time it had been in one direction. It was very much on a lot darker and sci-fi stuff that I was working on. So I was like, I need to do something with color and make something bright. So I got the chance to do that just before that PowerCon back in 2018. So I worked on that one and got it done in about 2 to 3 days, and it was great to get that print ready for that show. But yeah, I really just wanted to just push technique and push a little bit more environment, matte painting, and really just give the love that Orko is so deservedly so.
I believe maybe your disposer could be also a sneak peek on Trolla, the world of Orko.
Oh yeah, of course. No, I mean, like, literally when designing these types of pieces, yeah, I'm trying to like project out to a producer, see, it's like, hey, do this with work. But no, it's at the end of the day, it's all fun just exploring what could be done with any of these characters. I mean, there's so much, amazing lore and stuff to be inspired from for all of these pieces. So, and it's been around for so long that I love seeing new takes on it, especially the two recent takes that have been on Netflix. It's cool just to watch those two. So, but yeah, definitely.
In the new show, Orko become a little bit more important than the
Yes,
old. He has
absolutely.
important rules, especially in the fight scene with Scareglow. you never wonder that the little orc can take over Scareglow and change the story. I believe that I saw the new wave of the figures. I believe that Orko has an important role on also in the part two of the show. Maybe because I saw some stuff in the toyline, and the toyline sometimes looks like a spoiler when you saw
Yeah,
before.
yeah. I
So
try
I
to avoid it.
believe that maybe also in the second season, Orko will be important. So I believe that you are very happy because you told before you is your favorite character.
Yep, yep. And when I saw it, I'm like, oh man, he's finally doing some actions. I won't spoil anything for anyone who hasn't seen it, but it was cool finally seeing him use some powers and having a really more pronounced role in that. I'm like, oh wow, about times. But
And
definitely,
now I want to see the other one with Shira and
of
Or
course,
and the Ordak face in the background.
yeah. That's good there. So yeah, this is the again a first for me. I had never drawn Shira, but this is the first time that I had drawn Shira and actually Hordak at the same time. So again, this one came out in 2018. Same with Orko, same year. And I love that character. She is awesome, and Hordak is equally cool too. But Shira's is such a cool character. So I really wanted to go in and really just make it as big and grand as I possibly could for that piece. And I was so glad that people dug it at the show. And, still to this day, people have messaged me about it. So it's great. Great to see that support on that piece. But I intend on doing more Shira and all that kind of stuff soon.
And what is your inspiration for this version of Ordak in the face in the background? Because it looks like a little bit more. Remember me a little bit, maybe the classic section figure, or for example the Mondo action figure, but it's different than the org that we saw in Filmation, for example. Tell me something
Right.
about what is your reference and your inspiration to do this version of Ordak.
Yeah, I was trying to look at a little bit of Filmation, but I also wanted to again, like what a lot of things I try to do is put just a little bit of a spin on it, so it's not like I went to the to the cartoon and just copied and put it on my poster. I want to have my own take on it, and so I looked at a lot of from anything from statues to anything from. I've seen tons of reference online that I would just look at, and then I always would look at like horror movies and like those kind of classic posters with just like that ominous clouds and all that kind of stuff. So I was like, oh yeah, I gotta totally do that with Hordak, to make sure that Shira's got that the stance that really comes forward and is equally powerful. So, but it was a lot of that was just like looking at for Hordak was looking at horror posters. I wanted something just dark and extremely menacing in the background, but just that contrast within the lighting between her and between Shira and Hordak. I really just wanted to make sure that was the key is just to make sure that she is in the spotlight, but always in the background. Hordak is always there. So that was definitely the inspiration on developing that poster.
I like also how the style that you do for that, also for the other one, but especially for this one, because you recognize the reference maybe a little bit from the cartoon, but you translate that atmosphere in something more realistic, like a movie scene.
Yeah.
Because if you watch that, if you see that, you understand that maybe this could be a scene of a movie with Shira.
Yep.
And maybe, by the way, it could be an awesome movie, a movie like that,
Yes.
very accurate for the characters. So I like this idea to give some more realistic.
Yeah,
More,
no, literally that. I always saw this stuff living in like a modern adventure kind of stuff where you really can get dark and gritty, and it doesn't have to be super violent and all that kind of stuff, not at all. But the tone and the look and the style could totally fit, especially with what's done in movies nowadays. I mean, you could do almost anything at this point, but I always saw it like that. I remember the Masters Universe movie that from years ago, and it was still awesome to see that, regardless of how different it was. But it was still awesome to see it hit the big screen. But I've always saw what could be done in modern filmmaking, and even a lot of the TV shows look like movies now. So yeah, it's I always wanted my own spin of that. I'm like, well, again, nudge it. I'm like, hey, come on, guys, let's make one of these. So,
Should be very cool, a movie on this style. By the way, I like also the 1987
yeah,
movie. I mean, I did also two interview with William Stow, the artist of the work, the created the characters. I
yeah,
like that because they is that obviously it's like from today the show Revelation. If you
yes,
watch that, but you compare that with Filmation, maybe you become upset. Also for the
right,
movie, but if you watch that with a good vibes, you don't think about that by the Filmation. But another way to following this storyline
yeah,
should be interesting because Revelation, for example, as a writer, I especially follow the story as a big challenge because they killed Iman in the beginning. They put Tira as a main character,
yeah,
but they many reference for the toilet, the Eternia playset, and this stuff. So it's interesting as a writer. I understand the challenge that they did
yeah,
for that. And for the movie 1987, I like, for example, what William Stout did for this character because he tried to do something more realistic at the time. Because remember, 1987, the visual effects were different and
yeah,
sometimes more realistic. Because today, sometimes for some Transformers movie, you saw this movie looks like to see a crazy video game, larger than life. So sometimes the sci-fi, also the sci-fi or this type of fantasy movie of the 80s are something more realistic, like the big turtle of a never-ending story.
oh yeah,
It looks like real because they created the animation, real animation with
yep,
they created this stuff real, not just virtual. And for that, sometimes it's a little bit better for that. If you remember the first visual effect for Ghostbusters,
mhm,
looks like real. When
yeah,
you remember when you saw for the first time when I was a kid, the Ghostbuster number one with Slimer looks
yep.
like real
Yeah, I'm
Slimer.
like, oh man, look at that.
Exactly. Because they match up a little bit between the real scene, the real character, and the fictional character.
Right.
Today, it looks like a video game, also an action movie sometimes. Maybe a little,
Yeah.
sometimes it's too much that.
Yep. I
So,
agree.
speaking of the 97 movie, I like that. But back to another of your work, I
Sure.
remember Panther, an awesome Panther with Skeletor.
Yeah. Let me. Yeah, it's right here. Yeah. Again, this is something I wanted to kind of do my take on, like if a Saturday morning cartoon version came out. That's literally just like the cell animated kind of painted background stuff. That was just my take on it. I always saw again Panther didn't get a lot of love either. So I was like, oh come on, make Panther cool, bring him back. So I wanted to do that on with the opposite one with the He-Man and Giant Battle Cat. I just love that's how I saw it as a kid. Like, oh, this larger than life, all this cool stuff, and the whole fantasy element was so wild to me. I was probably like 8, 9 years old, something like that when I saw it. So it was wild to see all this stuff because it's completely new for me, and I grew up with a lot of like sci-fi kind of stuff, and that was what I was into. Tron being like probably the biggest inspiration in my childhood. But when I saw He-Man and Master Universe, I'm like, what is this stuff? So I dove completely, head in on that, and I didn't realize how deep that story went, and so I just kept watching and watching and watching. But I got hooked to it just a little bit.
And then in this version of Panther, I saw that you
Yes.
put also an helmet on
Yep.
Panther. It was inspired by the classic section figure.
It
What is it?
was. It was.
Okay.
It's literally that because I was like, wait a second, he's got a helmet. What? So I was like, no, I gotta. That has to be a part of this poster. So, in fact, there was a couple of people attending that PowerCon in 2017, and they were like, "You actually put the helmet on?" So I was like, I didn't know it existed. I'm glad I saw it. So. They were that literally is why they were. Oh, I'm buying this print. I'm getting this one. So I'm like, all right, I appreciate it. So, but yeah, I had to include that because that was to me. I didn't even realize that was even a part of the outfit. So I was like, oh, okay, then this is something that needs to be here too. So,
Yes, there was a creation of Osman, by the way, this version of Panther.
Hmm.
And do you collect also action figures? You are a collector also.
I used to collect a bunch of figures until I ran out of space. I mean, I've got some stuff you can probably see way behind me, and I got stuff on my desk too. I've got like some helmets and stuff like that too. But I have a whole storage that's just action figures from Masters to Transformers, Spawn toys. Yeah, I've got statues in storage, so it's just like I love it all, but I need to get like a 8-story house or something like that to make this work. But yeah, I'm a huge. I want. I mean, I literally still like off camera. There's a spawn that they had the Kickstarter, and I wanted to get all three, but I'm like, well, I only got space for one of these things. So and that's still in the box. I didn't even take it out of the box yet, so it's still here. But that's probably the most like recent figure I bought was that Spawn because yeah, I love all that stuff. So um,
That's super cool.
yeah.
I'm also a collector because I have not right here, but in the other floor of my house,
Mhm.
I have a huge room. This is also my studio to do stop motion.
Okay.
And the biggest stuff that I did, that I got, is the Snake Mountain play set by Super 7.
Oh
It's
no.
super big. And
Yeah.
one year, so a few weeks before last Christmas, 2020,
Uh-huh.
finally, after a long wait of about 1 year and a half, finally, when I wake up in my morning, so 4 p.m.,
Yeah.
I go to the ladder. I go to the entrance of my house,
Hmm.
and I saw this big box. I become a kid. I'm 6 foot
Oh
three.
yeah.
I looks like a little kid near this huge box. And with this huge box, I goes down in the basement where I have my toy room. I was very excited. I did some the review, the unboxing on this channel. It was it looks like to become when I was a kid and I got my Snake Mountain vintage one
Yep.
for the vibes. I believe we are lucky to growing up in the 80s and the early 90s because in that time start many franchise that's still alive today. And today we got new version of that is just few companies create something new. In general, we create this stuff because they are looks like immortal now for the collectors.
Yeah.
This is super cool.
It is, man, and I would love to get that. I saw that same Snake Mountain. I'm like, there is no way. I would have to sleep on that thing for it to fit in here. So, but that's so awesome. You got that. I mean, did you get any other oversized ones too, or was that just the main one you got?
I have also the Castle of Grayskull Classics
Okay.
playset, and
Okay.
I have also a huge diorama. There is a wall of this toy room, and the entire wall is composed by dioramas sculpted in the stone. By
Wow.
my father did that. I use that for because I'm also a collector of mythic legions,
Okay.
and I use that to do my stop motion with mythic legions and this stuff.
That's so cool, man.
So is I have also a huge diorama for Mythic Legion, Little Castle. I have another playset, a little bit smaller, of Marshall Bracer for Carium. I have the Firehouse of the real Ghostbusters. Some playset. I like playset in general.
Yeah, yeah, no, this is so awesome, man. I had the small back in the '80s. I had the small Castle Grayskull, but yeah, when I saw the same stuff you were, I'm like, that's just like when I grew up. So I wanted to get it, but I'm like, I don't know, but one
So
day when I get the
I
big house,
got
I'll
it
make it happen.
because I when I saw that because at that scale I have also the Club Grey School collection, the
Okay,
Filmation inspired because I'm a huge fan of Filmation. And by the
yeah,
way, I have a little story for that because when I was a
yeah,
kid, I drawing also, and I remember that to drawing I copied the character from the cartoon because I was upset because my vintage figure haven't the likeness for the filmation. Also because Rob Land told me that they try to create their own version to have the license, the rights for do their stuff on filmation. So
hmm,
obviously we have different. So if you compare, I remember Catra in the vintage action figure with the character on the cartoon. or Shadow Weaver, one of the characters
Oh yeah.
we never had as a kid. Super Sentai did the Shadow Weaver action figure cartoon accurate. I got all this bunch of figures of Filmation to do
Yep.
my stop motion. If you want, I can show you one of my stop motion.
I would love to see it.
I search now in a few
Yeah,
moments
yeah, please.
to have some fun because it did um, some only 2 episodes for now because in the same time on my channel I had a weekly show of wrestling stop motion because I'm a fan of the old school golden era, the era of Hulk Hogan, Under the Giants, the stuff.
Yeah.
And so I'm a fan of the WWF Hasbro figure. But we never had in this line a character like Big John Studd, King Kong Bundy.
Yep.
And with my friends, I designed the character. He did for the stuff for me. And I did this Federation of Action Figure. I wrote the story, and every week there is a weekly show of this Federation of Action Figures stop motion.
Yeah.
At the same time, when I got the Sting Mountain, I decided to do also a series of stop motion for Master of the Universe. Later, I start to collect Mythic Legions because I like fantasy stuff. I like Orc, Dwarf. And I start this other series. So I try to put in many stuff to do on this channel, on the other one, on writing, also the stop motion. No, I give you one of this one. I need only to remove the heads. I like the heads on my channel, by the way, but now I need to remove. Okay,
Totally
in the
get that.
beginning, you see I intro. The intro is not a stop motion. It's basically an intro for each video that I did for Master of the Universe, also review unboxing. And after the intro, you can see the actual stop motion.
Awesome.
I need also to share. Yes. I believe it's on the screen now.
Oh, cool.
Maybe. No, so me there is some error. I don't know. Because in Italy, we have a Jurassic connection. It's so slow. And the reason why I did the stream at this time, because at this time, work.
Yeah, exactly. You would have issues if it was too early.
So it's
no worries.
It's the only way to have a good connection is in the night.
Yeah, no, I totally understand. I'll have to take a look because I know it's on your YouTube, so I need to go. Need to start diving on that if you can't get it to work today.
Only a minute because I don't know why the StreamYard put out my green screen when I try to share. No, maybe I made a mistake. A few moments.
No worries.
Invent a story, create a story for a few moments to this.
Yeah, let me figure something out really quick. So no, I mean honestly, I just think to be able to have that same connection, that we both have with all the classic stuff from the 80s and early 90s even. To see that it's still here, it's incredible to be able to continue to watch, not only grow, but just continue to see how many people get into it. Because there were such amazing shows and movies and just things that have literally have gotten sequel after sequel or reboot after reboot that came all the way from even some late 70s stuff. But it's cool to be able to see it this many decades later and still see the fans and of all ages getting into it. So
I don't know. Don't work. There's something wrong with my connection, I believe.
No worries.
Because now I lost also my beautiful background. It's
no.
Sad. Because I tried to put the background by saying there's some error, but
no, sorry that happened.
Why is not but the green is a good color, by the way.
No, it works, man.
So maybe it's time to go to another of your work.
Sure. Let me, in fact, with the time we got left, I can go to some of these giant ones. I don't know how much it'll show up on screen, but I did. These are the smaller versions of them, but these are actually drawn at 10 foot by 12 foot. But these are the smaller 18 by 24 inch
Wow.
backgrounds. So there were photo backdrops I designed for PowerCon this year. So that, so all the fans and family can go take pictures with them. So they're actually giant pieces, which is why they took about a week each.
I
But
like the idea because the crystal castle looks like the jump out from the poster. Looks
yeah,
I like this idea. What is the technique to do this effect?
oh gosh, I know the name. I know what you're talking about because it has like a forced perspective where it really just pushes everything forward. So it was something like I remember seeing in a lot of like Lego movie kind of stuff where all of a sudden there's this weird parallax effect that you could get, where you could really make something look like a giant image when it really wasn't. But I'm completely spacing on that name right now, but I'm sure hopefully someone in who sees this video could comment on what that name is. But yeah, so I did a Crystal Castle and the same take on Snake Mountain. Also, this is 10 foot by 12 foot.
Awesome, awesome. And
Um,
this big mountain, I see some vibes of the action figure mix of different reference. I
it
saw that
is.
because remember me the statue. I don't know who created that statue of Snake Mountain. I remember that, but also the lava falls that you did looks a real lava falls.
I was painting forever on that piece. I mean, I really because I saw like I remember seeing just the same Snake Mountain that you own, and just that play set. I saw that. I was looking at the classic stuff. I was just trying to figure out a way to incorporate so many different elements, so the fans can kind of get a little bit of everything in that one piece. And it was such a fun journey just trying to figure out how the heck to paint that thing up. And a lot of people at PowerCon they were buying those so they could put their figures as a backdrop, so they can do their own little animations with that backdrop and have their characters kind of fight in front of it. So I was like, oh no, that's awesome, go for it. And I'm waiting to see some footage. I'm hoping one day I'll be able to see what people do with it. But yeah, I didn't realize, I just was, again, Val Staples was awesome to reach out and have me do those for the show. And I was like, oh yeah, I would love to do that. That's right up my alley. So I'd never really just gone all in on just some background art for the show. So there was always a featured character, but for that the environment, I'm like, yeah, I'll go in and do these. So
And
it was a pleasure.
when you work in, like for example in this one with the Snake Mountain,
Yes,
I I believe that it looks like to go inside, digitally inside this world. What
yeah.
is your feelings in the moment of the creation when you work, you create the details after details after details?
It is that. It literally is that. Like as I get going, I start to create my own personal story of that piece. So like, what would it be like to get up and close to all that heat and all the embers flying in front of your face and that really thick ash flying off in the sky? And like, I'm really like, I get probably a little too into it, but it's part of the process for me is how can I see a character living in this environment, or how can I see just the environment on its own, just being its own standalone, livable place. What could I do to make it even more convincing for the viewer that this is something that is, could exist, in fantasy world. So a lot of it is just trying to figure out how in the heck to be able to balance that kind of stuff, and but that's part of the fun, is that I can create all these different elements and and story little like small little nuggets of like stories, ideas that I've got, like little ember pits and flowing rocks is hitting certain pieces that cause another piece to break apart, and just the glow from the snake itself, so all those little hints of details. Again, it takes forever, but it's so much fun to be able to design this kind of stuff. So I feel like I'm definitely a big kid designing these posters, and and reliving my whole childhood, just to be able to have that glimpse of the '80s again for me when I'm painting. So it's beyond an honor to be able to design that kind of stuff, and that was definitely a piece. I was like, oh, I'm gonna dive on this one. So they
In
challenged
my
me, and I definitely took it.
in my opinion, should be interesting because of your style, your realistic style. maybe create a story with a series of poster.
Oh yeah,
Will be interesting
yeah,
with the topic scene with this story because when for example I remember a little the one of the yours that that still impressed in me right now is the Shira with Ordak in the background, the
yeah,
face of Ordak,
yeah.
because this is so realistic, it looks like a movie.
I
So
appreciate that.
you maybe when you watch some stuff like that, you wonder, I want to see more of that. What happened later? What happened?
No, I mean, I really hope I get the opportunity to one day dive into a story like that. I've always wanted to do a comic that looked like that. I mean, I've worked in the industry for quite some time, and I've been very fortunate to work on various styles of stuff. Even the darker Warcraft stuff that I'd done over the years with DC and Blizzard, it was really gritty and evil. But I was like, well, let me do that with She-Ra or He-Man, and at the time those weren't a thing. They finally started releasing comics, not too long ago. But I haven't had an opportunity to dive into that style. But if I would love if any of those studios reach out, I would totally do it because it's it was my take on movie posters was just doing that She-Ra like that. So it was that was I was trying to drop as many hints as I could to the comic studios to let me do a book like that. We'll see one day. Maybe they'll reach out.
Should be a cool idea if you find a sponsor for that. I
Yeah,
believe that many people will buy it because of this vibes that I got for your
I
work.
appreciate it, man. Now, I'm beyond thankful that that piece is done so well, and I mean not just monetarily, but just the people reaching out to me about that. I've gotten so many emails or messages about that piece, and that's probably probably the most popular piece I've ever done in Masters of the Universe is that She-Ra, and then the next one would be Orko, but people really gravitated towards that. And I'm so glad that they love that just really movie kind of take on it. So like, oh man, I got to do more now. So thankfully added Sorceress like you saw to that, and then next year I'm doing Evelyn and a
Oh,
couple of other
cool.
ones. So I'll wait. I'll hold those until next year.
Awesome, awesome. This is a spoiler.
Yeah, no spoiler.
And what is the reaction of your friends that they maybe are not an artist when they watch your heart? What is the reaction of your friends?
Yeah, I mean, my friends are thankfully super supportive. It's cool to be able to see their reaction when I'm releasing pieces or at shows, and I mean, it's definitely a different thing because we just hang out and we get the time and we're playing games and goofing off, but then you realize that the stuff that I've been so lucky to work on because trust me, this is not a normal thing. To be able to work on so many crazy projects, and they but being my friends, they quickly bring me back to earth. So, so it's all love and good fun, but yeah, they are super supportive of the fact that I get to work on such crazy stuff on a normal basis. So they're awesome, but they definitely give me a hard time whenever they get a chance to. So.
Awesome. And now we are close to 1 hour.
Sure.
How much time do you have again for this show, for this interview together?
I mean, if another 10 minutes or so, is that good for you
Okay.
or?
Okay, 10 minutes, okay, to talks a little bit again.
Yeah.
And I saw also because I go to your website also. And by the way, remember to everyone your website to watch your works is anthonywashington.com, your website.
It's just my main website is just
Tony
TonyWashingtonArt.com.
Washington, okay.
Yeah, and then my Instagram is just at TonyWashingtonArt. Those are the main two I'm active on. The .com has got like a lot of the prints for sale that I've got. And during the smaller Comic Con that's coming up in November, I will be re-releasing a lot of the PowerCon art stuff that I've got in stock. It will be on my site that weekend. So I think it's like the 26th or something like that. So for 3 days, I will be selling all of the stuff that you see on this stream. But just those 3 days, I do not leave them on my site. So definitely act fast if anyone's interested during that time frame. But definitely follow my mailing list. There's a link on the site, and you'll see exactly when they come out. and I sign all of them. So it's an honor for me to get these signed and shipped out all over the world. So so those are the main sites that I'm at. And then but yeah, I always just try to post. Lately a lot of stuff's from Masters because I was at PowerCon, but you'll see, like, anyone who's on my Instagram, it's basically the first half of the feed is just is He-Man art. So, um,
Awesome. So,
but
so guys, to everyone that watch right now or watch later, if you want understand how to buy one of the work of Tony, go to the website or Instagram to more information, guys.
absolutely, thank you so much.
And I saw, by the way, on your site
Yeah.
also that you did some artwork for another popular franchise and talking about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. I saw
Oh
something like
man,
that.
yeah. That was another one of those completely crazy dream come true moments. I mean, I've been a fan just like you have of Turtles, and I grew up with it, and I got the call from awesome writer director Kevin Monroe. We had worked on a book together with artist Dave Wilkins, another great friend of mine. Doing El Zombo was a comic we did with Dark Horse, and during that time frame, Kevin was getting ready. We were working at Midway Home Entertainment. They do like Mortal Kombat and a bunch of games from the 80s, 90s, and still today. Well, actually, not really today, but that's not, I guess I don't think it really exists much now. But it's he was working on a project and I was on a separate project in the same studio, and he approached me and he was just like, "Hey, how would you like doing some turtle stuff?" I'm like, yeah, I would love to do some turtle stuff, of course. So he called me about a week later, and they're getting ready for their pitch for the film. And I had literally 1 week to design the look, the environment, the world for what the turtles are going to be pitched as to investors. So I was like, what how am I going to do this? So he was like, yeah, man, I want it to look like the Dark Knight, and the Dark Knight hadn't even come out yet. And I saw the trailer, and I'm like, oh, this looks great. It's gritty. It's dark. All right, let me figure it out. So 6 days, because I was going back and forth with Kevin and the production crew on the look of the film, and within that 6 days, somehow it came together, and then they pitched it and got the budget. And 2 years later, or not 2 years later, for 2 years, I was working on that movie with an incredible team up in Los Angeles, and the awesome animation studio overseas too. So it was such a dream come true to be on that. I mean, I did not expect to ever be able to, like, I'm working on Ninja Turtles. so,
Awesome.
so yeah, that means that's the quick version of it. But yeah, I worked on that for 2 years, and I had the pleasure of working with everybody at that studio on some other stuff. Unfortunately, did not come out. There was a Zelda project we're working on, and Battle of the Planets we're working on that too, or Gotchaman. Unfortunately, those didn't come out. But I mean, you might be able to find there is footage of Gotchaman online. If people are out there googling around and be able to find it, there's definitely some stuff we worked on for it. But yeah, that was Turtles was such a trip to work on that film for that time, and learned a lot. I mean, there's some, again, how we talked about earlier about surrounding yourself with artists. That I worked here in San Diego, but I would drive to LA like 3 times a week. So it's about, like, it was a lot of driving. But it's like, I don't know, 6 hours a day of just driving, and then I'm working in the studio for 8-9 hours. So it was a grind for 2 years doing that, but I didn't care. It was Turtle, so I'm like, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity to work on this. So, but while I was there, I got surrounded by just literally some of the best artists in the industry, and it helped to ramp up my skill set in a huge way. So. Simon Merton, the art director, made sure of that, and I appreciate all the constructive criticism that I got while working on that project. So huge shouts out to him, because that I learned a lot just being on that 2 years, because I definitely had a lot to improve on. I learned during that
Awesome.
process, but it was such a great journey being on that.
And now it's time for the last question.
Sure.
There is something that you like, that you love so much, a franchise or character, a movie or cartoons that you never did until now, and they could be a future dreams come true for you?
Oh man. Um, that's an awesome question. I mean, there's so many cool properties out there, as you know as well. I mean, I kind of hinted at it earlier. Not hinted, I said it. Tron was the one that got me into doing this. And I remember seeing Empire Strikes Back and Jedi in the theaters, and it was amazing, the worlds that were developed and all that kind of stuff. But the sounds and the visuals in Tron, like it, as I was a kid, I did not know how to take that in. So it was so cool to see like these light cycles speeding around a grid, and for me, I mean, if I could work on a project, it probably would be Tron, either that or The Last Starfighter. Those are two that I was a huge fan of, and I keep hearing The Last Starfighter could happen, but I'm I'll keep my fingers crossed. And but if I could work on either of those, I would go in on those projects for sure. But outside of that, in the comic world, it would have to be like a Nightwing project, with maybe Grifter. I always saw that, and maybe like a crossover between those two and Void, something like that. I would love to do those as a comic. Yeah, I've never drawn Batman before, but if I got to do anything in that Gotham kind of atmosphere, it would definitely be like a Nightwing kind of book. But or if you keep hinting about She-Ra.
Awesome. Finger crossed.
Yes, absolutely.
And now, before to go to the piano for the final moment of the show,
Yes.
I remember to all of you guys two things. First of all, go to the TonyWashington.com on the web to watch every artwork from him that you can buy, and also go to his Instagram page. But go also to my Instagram page, Mr.
Yep.
Allen, the World of Toys. And don't forget, guys, the next week, Saturday 23rd, will be Eamon O'Donoghue on my show to talk about his work, also the Master of the Universe. So now it's time to go to the piano. Thanks for watching, my friends. And I know in this episode, my green screen is died. And I hope they come back in the next show. And thank you, Tony, to your art and your amazing talent and your awesome smile, because in your smile you can find a dream come true, my friend. Yes, I saw. I now I am happy to meet you, because as an artist I like meet other artists, but in general
Likewise.
I like feel these vibes that a person like me that every day wake up and do everything that he loves. It's so
Yep.
cool. That.
No, thank you so much for the opportunity. I really, definitely been an honor to be on your show today, and I look forward to seeing what you do as well. So thank you so much for having me on.
And if you want to come back in the future, you are welcome, my friend.
Oh, that'd be awesome, man. You let me know when. I'll definitely be here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. Goodbye. Good night to everyone. And see you next week with Eamon O'Donoghue to talk about his work also. And also in the playlist, you can see all my interview with many awesome artists like Tony Washington. Thanks for watching, and thank you, Tony. Goodbye, guys.